Now, I'm excited to be joined by a very special guest. It is NFL all-time leading rusher and Florida legend, Emmitt Smith. You might have heard of him. Emmitt, before we get into some football things, I want to talk to you about what you're doing to raise awareness for prostate cancer. Can you tell us about what you're doing with Depend and why this cause is so important to you?
Well, Depend and I teamed up to spread awareness for men's health, if you will. September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and my father had a bout of prostate cancer. And so, from a personal standpoint, it's reminded me that the older I get, the more I need to be aware of not only the things that I'm putting in my body, but what's going on inside of my body. Because oftentimes we don't know until it's too late, unless you're going to get regular appointments with your doctor, checking your PSAs and stuff of that nature. So for me, this was a natural fit to even talk about a lot of different things. Life has hit a lot of us in a lot of different ways. And for me, I've had a broad range of experiences. And this is one of those things that hit home as well. And for NFL players, I mean, we talk about it at the Hall of Fame quite often, making sure that your PSA numbers are in balance and that you're monitoring your health closely.
I'm 34 and I'm even realizing like, man, I got to start getting those regular doctor's appointments and seeing
Yeah.
Depend do something like this really, really cool and definitely a cause that's very, very worthy for so many people out there.
Yep.
Emmett, I want to start with what I'm imagining is such a bittersweet thing for you. You get to watch your son EJ be part of that Texas A&M rushing attack, and it just dominated your alma mater. I mean, there's no other way to say it. What was that like, both as a dad and as a Gator?
As a father, first and foremost, I look at things from the lens of sports, and I look at the things that are from the lens of a father to what's going on with my kids, where they are, schools that they want to go to. They have to live their lives independently of the life that I live, and so their destiny and their paths are a little bit different than mine. And so, but to have a surreal moment, to see my kid who used to play on Florida Field when he was like 3 or 4 years old, and now he's 22, and he's made a decision to join Texas A&M and become an Aggie after graduating from Stanford. I mean, it was a surreal moment just to see it and just to be a part of it. And because it's been a long time since I've been back at the University of Florida. Matter of fact, one of the last times EJ and I and his mom was at the University of Florida was when he was being recruited by the University of Florida. And we went back to a homecoming game, which was the Auburn game, and it was packed, loud, as you can possibly imagine. And so to see my kid run through the tunnel onto Florida Field and have an opportunity to actually play on it, even though he was with the opposing team, it was an absolute joy for me. And to see him play and see them perform the way that they did with their rushing attack and everything else, and to see him get in and do his thing and prove to people that he belonged at that level, it was great.
There's a play in the game where EJ gets to the line of scrimmage, and it's just him with an unblocked Desmond Watson, who is, by the way, listed at 449 pounds. That's not an error. Desmond Watson is 449 pounds.
Yeah,
And EJ makes the wise move to like bounce, to like run it back to the right. He bounces it outside to avoid that. To me,
right.
that looked like a son who watched his dad be able to play 15 years in the NFL because he made some smart decisions like that.
Well, you have to understand, EJ never really got a chance to watch me actually play.
It's a good
Uh,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
when he was born, and he was born in May of 2002, and I broke the record October 27th in 2002. He was just about 5 to 6 months old. He had no clue what was going on that particular day. And then when I spent my last 2 years with the Arizona Cardinals, obviously he was like 3 years old. So going on three. And so he never really got a chance to see me play, even though he was at games. He remember hearing the loud firecrackers going off and everything else at stadiums, but he watched tape. The amazing thing about EJ that blew me away was he used to come into my office and plop into the VH1, the VHS tapes of us playing in the Super Bowl. He used to watch Super Bowl 28 and sit at the desk and just watch it, just by himself. When he would walk in, go put the tape in, sit at the desk, and just look at that tape and just watch the game, which was fascinating for me to see a young kid that was 2 years old or 3 years old to do something like that and just pay attention and not even move, as if he was watching a Barney episode or Sesame Street episode or something. That's the way he looked at the tape. And so there's no surprise to me to see that he has the level of talent. Matter of fact, his talent has expanded way beyond mine. And I'm just glad to see him living his best life right now.
You talked about him graduating from Stanford, where he gets to start off his career. And I remember how supportive you were when, he made that choice. And it was a big, viral moment. And you picked up the Florida hat and you spoke about, that was your journey and he's on his own journey. And it was just a cool father-son moment, parent-son moment, really. And I imagine this has gone in a lot of different ways for you. And now being at Texas A&M, do you have the opportunity to be able to go to every A&M game this year? Like, is that going to be the plan for you?
Well, I've already missed one A&M game, the McNeese State game, but I
That's all right.
do,
That's
and
fine.
I'm gonna probably miss a couple more games too as well. But I do plan on attending as many games as I possibly can, because I love to watch him play. I love to watch him run, and it's a long season, and there's so many more opportunities. And I'm just praying that not only does the Aggie football team remain healthy, but he remained healthy as a kid and as a player himself, and step in and do what he's been called to do or what they're asking of him. And hopefully to see the offense expand to where they're utilizing those backs that they actually have in passing situations as well. And so I do know EJ has played the wide receiver position a little bit in high school, and he can play the slot. He can do number of different things. But as coach would say, the best ability is availability. And so you never know how things may shake up throughout the course of the season, but he just need to be ready for when his numbers call.
Definitely somebody that they're relying on even more now, injuries in fall camp and stuff. When that plays out, certainly it definitely looks so far like he's going to have a role based on what we've seen so far. I know you famously decided to not stay your senior year at Florida because Spurrier was coming in and he's running this offense, the fun and gun
It
offense, and
didn't
it
have
was
nothing with Spurrier coming in and him running a different offense. It was the simple fact, and this is what people don't realize. When you think about Connor Whitman, for example, he's had multiple offensive coordinators. And so he has not had the chance to grow and expand and mature into an offense that he can call his own yet. I was the same way. My first 3 years at Florida, they changed offensive coordinators the first 3 years. My last year, which was my junior year, which is my third year, they brought in Whitey Jordan. And so I learned a brand new offense that year as well. It was my best year ever. And so going into my senior year, they brought in Steve Spurrier as a new head coach. And so I was going to learn a brand new offense no matter what. And the question was, did I want to run the risk in terms of playing another year? Because I had done almost everything I could do at the University of Florida in terms of trying to win games and breaking records and doing all the things that I needed to do on the football field as well as off the football field. I did not want to run the risk of getting injured in my senior year and lose out on the opportunity to pursue my ultimate dream, which was becoming a professional athlete. Those are the reasons why I left. It didn't have nothing to do whether or not I liked Spurrier or not. That had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with what was right for me at that time.
I was gonna say because I know you guys are tight, and I know that wasn't necessarily like you guys have had a relationship, and you got to see him this past week, correct? Like, what
Yeah,
did
yeah, I
you?
gave him a big old hug and everything else. And because I went and ate at his restaurant. We had dinner at Spurrier's restaurant in Gainesville. And so um, we have, I would like to think we have a very good relationship, a very mutual, respectful relationship. And I care for him because of not only him as a person, but I gotten to know him over the years.
What are those conversations like with him? Do you guys talk football? Do you talk golf? Like, what's a typical Emmitt Smith, Steve Spurrier conversation?
It's pretty simple, pretty basic. We played a round of golf together in Tahoe. So we walked the golf course and talked about everything underneath the sun. Life, we talked about football, we talked about business, we talked a number of different things. And so for me, it was more of I want to say, a mutual respectful relationship because he is my elder. And to be able to gain wisdom from him, to talk about all kinds of things, life, health, all of that stuff, to see where he's at physically as he aged. Those things are things that I see. Those are things that we actually talk about it on occasions when we're around, how things are going. Man, he'll tell me what's going on with his body. And so for me as a young player, I take those things to heart because he's where eventually I want to be at. I mean, in terms of age. And so health wise, all of those things are important to me when I'm speaking to people of wisdom, whether it's a Roger Staubach or it's a Tony Dorsett. It's people that have gone places and are in places that I aspire to get to at some point. And so I want to be healthy when I get to that level. So when I'm talking to them, I'm gaining knowledge in terms of how to take care of my body, what I may need to do, what's going on in their worlds, what it's like to be where they are. I'm asking all kinds of probing questions and we having a dialogue, and it's a pretty interesting conversation.
Since we're on the subject of health today, what's the most physically impressive thing that you can do at age 55? Because I look at you and I'm like, Emmitt can probably still run like a 4.5 40 or something like that.
Ain't no way in HELL Emmett can run a 4.5 40. Emmett be lucky to run a 5 flat 40 because you know what? Emmett is not trying to run a 40 at all. So you won't get a great effort from me running a 40. But however, what you can do is, and I do this every year, I go see my primary physician twice a year. Sometimes it's in the first quarter or in the last quarter of the year. And if I got anything going on in between, I'm making that phone call. Whether it's a nasal drip or a cold that's coming on or a sore throat that I'm feeling or something that doesn't feel normal or feel out of whack for me, I call them because I've been a healthy guy for the majority parts of my life. And so staying on top of your health is extremely important. I've been getting brain scans I was like since 2010, maybe 2013, just making sure that my brain is in quality shape. Now, and some things come back normal, some things may not come back as normal, and I may need to monitor those things and keep a close eye on those things. And so for me, it's about preventative medicine. That's the way I look at it. If you know it, you can address it right then and there, and you can get things corrected. And if you don't know, and you're just missing out on doctor's appointments, missing out on dental appointment, eye appointments, and there, et cetera. There might be something going on underlying that you might not be aware of. And by the time you become aware of it, it could actually be too late.
Emmitt, this has been great. I want to get you out of here with some rapid fire, just 5 questions. First thing that comes to mind. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, you're a perfect person to ask this question to. Which state is hotter, Texas or Florida?
Oh, Florida has a lot more humidity. Texas has a little bit more dry weather. It depends on where you are in Texas. Because up here in Dallas is a little bit drier. Down in Houston, oh my gosh, it is on fire down there in Houston in terms of humidity. Houston reminds me of Florida a lot because Houston is closer to the coast, but Florida is all about the coast, whether it's the Atlantic coast or the Gulf Coast. So, um, man, whew, that's a tough question because the heat is about the same.
Yeah, it's the sweat off the Florida. When you get off an airport, in Florida, that heat that hits you is just it's a different beast. It
Yeah,
definitely
and
is.
the same thing will happen in Houston too.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, what's your go-to entertainment on a flight?
My go-to entertainment on a flight. I normally play um, Candy Crush or Solitaire. Every now and then I'll watch a movie, depends on how the movie that's on the flight. But and I think those are my pretty much close to entertainments that I would have on a flight.
Okay, speaking of flights, when you're at the airport in Dallas, how often do you go to your own store?
I don't go by. I go by it all the time,
I
and
would too.
I walk by it all the time, especially if I'm in Terminal C.
Yeah.
But I rarely stop in, and every now and then I might stop in just to check and see if they need any autographed jerseys.
Good idea. If someone recognizes you in public, how should they greet you?
They can come up to me very subtly. They don't have to come up with a whole lot of fanfare, all big and everything else, drawing more attention to the situation. They can approach me on the side and just say, "Hey, are you Mr. Smith?" Or, "Hey, are you Emmitt Smith?" Or, hey, Emmitt, how you doing?" Or something of that nature, something very subtle. And they can ask the question that they want to ask right then and there. "Do you mind if I do this?" And you give me the ability to say, "You know what? If we can do it discreetly, let's do it discreetly. If not, then the answer is probably no."
That's a good answer. All right, last one for you. What did Michael Irvin text you after Miami throttled Florida?
He never did. He never
Whoa,
did. Now, Edrin James did. But
somebody's
Michael
got him.
never texted me.
Dang, that's a surprise. Emmitt, really appreciate the time. Love what you're doing with Depend and spreading awareness of prostate cancer. Best of luck to you and your family, man.
Thank you. If you need any more information on Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, go to depend.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, bro.